PassQuestion has recently cracked 5V0-31.22 practice test questions to help candidates prepare for the VMware Cloud Foundation Specialist (V2) exam. 1. Which two roles are played by a spherelet in a Tanzu-enabled VCF workload domain? Choose 2. A. It runs as a VIB on all supervisor cluster SSH hosts configured with the vSphere networking stack. B. It enables an SSH hypervisor to act as a Kubernetes master node. C. It enables an SSH hypervisor to act as a Kubernetes worker node. D. It starts and monitors vSphere pods running on the workload domain cluster. E. It communicates with the vSphere with Tanzu Embedded Harbor Registry. 2. An administrator is tasked with preparing hosts for the deployment of a new workload domain in a VMware Cloud Foundation environment. The SSH hosts have HBA cards that require the installation of a separate and the most recent VMware installation bundles, VIBs. Which SSH imaging method should the administrator use? A. VMware Imaging Appliance. B. VMware vSphere Auto Deploy. C. Download and burn the base SSH installer ISO image to a DVD. D. VMware vSphere Lifecycle Manager Images. 3. An administrator is tasked with deploying a VMware Cloud Foundation environment that consists of 3 V workload domains. Each V workload domain is comprised of 2 clusters, with 18 hosts in each cluster. Which option fulfills this requirement while minimizing the number of NSXT manager instances? A. Deploy one large-sized NSXT manager cluster for all V workload domains. B. Deploy one medium-sized NSXT manager cluster for all V workload domains. C. Deploy one medium-sized NSXT manager cluster per V workload domain. D. Deploy one large-sized NSXT manager cluster per V workload domain. 4. An administrator is planning to deploy an edge cluster in a VMware Cloud Foundation environment. Which 3 NSX components are automated during this deployment? Choose 3. A. Segments for VM workloads. B. Tier 0 VRF gateway configuration. C. Tier 0 and Tier 1 gateway configuration. D. Edge uplink profile configuration. E. Edge VM deployment. F. Transport node profile configuration. 5. The vSAN Witness appliance for a VMware Cloud Foundation stretched vSAN cluster stopped working. The administrator needs to roll out a new appliance to replace the old one. Which tool should the administrator use to perform this task? A. vSphere Client. B. SDDC Manager. C. vSphere Update Manager. D. vSAN Power CLI. 6. Which 2 requirements are needed to add new hosts to an existing V workload in a VMware Cloud Foundation environment? Choose 2. A. The host uses the same storage type as the existing cluster hosts. B. The host uses heterogeneous hardware. C. The host uses a minimum of 4 network ports. D. The host uses the same network pool. E. The host uses only the VLAN network. 7. An architect needs to enable the workload management for a VCFV workload domain and plans on using the minimum requirement for deploying a highly available NSX edge cluster. What is the minimum requirement for this deployment? A cluster of 3 large NSX edge node. B. A cluster of 1 large NSX edge node. C. A cluster of 2 large NSX edge nodes. D. A cluster of 2 small NSX edge nodes. 8. Which 2 options are only available when using vSphere Lifecycle Manager images? Choose 2. A. Upgrade VM hardware compatibility versions. B. Update the firmware of all SSH hosts in a cluster. C. Install and update third-party software on all SSH hosts in a cluster. D. Check the hosts and clusters against the vSAN hardware compatibility list. E. Upgrade and patch SSH hosts. 9. An administrator is tasked with providing additional north-south throughput to the workloads hosted on overlay-backed networks in a V-workload domain stretched cluster. A 2-node NSX edge cluster was previously deployed through SDDC Manager before the cluster was stretched. Which option is valid to add 2 nodes to the existing edge cluster while maintaining password rotation capability? A. Expand the existing NSX edge cluster using NSX Manager, and import the additional nodes in SDDC Manager. B. Create a new NSX edge cluster using SDDC Manager on the same stretched workload domain cluster. C. Expand the existing NSX edge cluster using SDDC Manager, and place the additional NSX edge nodes on the same stretched workload domain cluster. D. Expand the existing NSX edge cluster using SDDC Manager, and place the additional NSX edge nodes on a different stretched workload domain cluster. 10. A systems administrator is tasked with creating a new V-workload domain that will leverage either an external NFS or a VMFS on FC storage as the principal storage. Which action is required to fulfill this requirement? A. Create a new network pool for vMotion and vSAN networks. B. Create a new network pool only for vMotion network. C. Create a new network pool for vMotion, vSAN, and NFS networks. D. Create a new network pool for vMotion and NFS networks.